and Mike. I don't know where to point because I'm in a little bubble in the corner. But we're back with another episode of Interview with the Escape Room Guys. We're here with Wild Hare Escapes. We've got JR, who is our business manager, Todd, who's the creative director, and Aaron, who is our art director. And this is version 2 of this interview because we did it once before, but the encoding was absolutely terrible. So we're trying it again with a different platform. And as normal, just going to get right into it. So, guys, if you can tell us how long have you been open, and what can you tell us about your current games?
Sure. We launched October 21st, I believe, with 2 games, and one's called Surf Quest, and one is called The Comedy of Terrors. And then I'm going to let Todd give you a little description of each of those games.
Yeah, sure. We were very inspired by those point-and-click adventure games of the 1980s and 90s. I was personally obsessed with King's Quest. And so this Surf's Quest is a parody of that. It's an 8-bit style game with a medieval fantasy theme. The Comedy of Terrors, that one you have to escape the clutches of a pissed-off theater ghost before the building comes down on your head. So those are our 2 games, and then I don't know if we want to talk about our 3rd game that's coming out soon now.
Yeah. Sure, let's do it.
That one is going to be called Off the Rails. It should be coming out late this month, maybe early January. It should be on its way over to our developer in the next day or 2. And in that one, you are in a runaway train that is heading towards a ravine, and you've got to stop that train before it falls in.
Very good. So I'll jump into the next question. So what is the design philosophy that you guys have behind the experiences that you create for your customers?
Aaron, why don't you take the first crack at this one?
Well, as far as the art goes, we try to have as wide a variety as possible. So kind of play around with different styles. Surf's Quest, for instance, is based on the King's Quest games from the 80s and 90s, so it's all pixelated, very 8-bit reminiscent. And then Comedy of Terrors is more hyper photorealistic, so it's 2 completely different styles. Off the Rails is also along the same lines of Comedy of Terrors, but it's got a bit more of a cartoony feel to it as well. So we're going to try to have each game have its own unique feel and flavor and keep everybody guessing on what's coming next. And then I'll hand it off to Todd to talk about his puzzle philosophy.
Yeah, so just the game as a whole, we really wanted to take advantage of the fact that these games are online rather than live. And so we asked ourselves, what could we do that you couldn't normally do in a live room? And some of that is creating just very large, expansive worlds, kind of like in those point-and-click games, rather than just being limited to 1, 2, or 3 rooms. And then we also wanted to make sure our games were jam-packed with humor. We played a lot of games that have elements of humor, but not where it's kind of a central focus. So that was a big thing for us as well. And we just wanted to have an immersive storyline, too, that really pulled people in.
And I think that's one of the things you really need to focus on, especially online games, because you don't have someone guiding you through it in person. So that's a big challenge that you guys take on, and having the online experience moderated with a game master, of course. But to be very clear, we played Comedy of Terrors with the team of ours and had a lot of fun. It was a unique online experience that I think we're looking forward to the other experiences that you guys have to play. So any other fill-ins with the design philosophy? What types of things did you keep at the forefront of your mind in designing this experience, knowing that it was going to be an online game versus something that people would play in a brick and mortar?
Well, we wanted people to have the feeling of being lost in this theater. Like the theater is based on an actual theater in Decatur, Illinois. And Aaron has spent a lot of time there back in the day, and the way he describes it, you really felt like it was a maze, like you could very easily get lost. In fact, we had one group who, at one point, somebody went back into another part of the theater alone, and he said he had the feeling like he was wandering this theater alone and like was in a hurry to get back to the rest of the group. So we wanted to create that sensation.
Yeah, it's been challenging trying to figure out the navigation through the space and how to make it clear which way you're able to turn, what things you can pick up. We've made some modifications and stuff in that regard, which I think has helped a lot and made everything a lot more crystal clear. So, but it seems to be, everybody seems to be really having a good time. And
yeah, I don't remember when you guys played if we had already we've added arrows with text. So whenever you're in a space, you can mouse over to the side and it'll say this will turn you to the right or this will take you down the stairs, so that hopefully that helps with some of the navigation issues that a few of the early groups were experiencing.
Yeah, I don't think we had that when we played, but I will say, even though we didn't have that at that point, it really only took our group about 5 minutes to figure out really how to do the navigation, because I think we've all played online games where you have to click the right and the left and the front and the bottom, so so I think that's a really good addition. But I think it was intuitive enough for people maybe above the age of 30 to figure that out.
Right.
Well, and we've definitely, our hosts have definitely, we've trained our hosts a lot more, and they're great at, helping people along. They don't want to intrude on your gameplay and your group having a great time, but they're there to sort of help you along, make sure you don't miss anything, make it as positive as an experience as possible. And I mean, yeah, just to add to the design, philosophy overall, I mean, we really have sort of been joking now, like, once our name was created, we're not doing online escape rooms, we're doing online escape worlds. Like, that's really what we're trying to do to set us apart from everybody else.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging because, I mean, it is a very expansive world. So you really have to be paying attention from the beginning about which direction you're going and where things are and how to get back there and finding your way around. So it's definitely an added part of the challenge, which is, I think, a cool element. So.
And I have to reel them in when these two get going creatively. I'm like, this is not a 24-hour escape room.
We'll get there, though.
That's why you break it up into chapters.
Yeah, ideas just flow. Yeah, series 1, 2, 3, exactly.
Cool. All right,
Jason. That was actually one of the, I think it was the only piece of feedback that I had emailed you guys after we played through the game, was that the arrows, if you hover over the edges of the screen, it was pretty clear once you got through it the first couple of times and when you have to backtrack and such. But to get started out, just having the arrows saying, as you hover over the bottom of the screen, an arrow pointing down, signifying you can go back. That was really my only feedback originally after we had just played the game. So I know Todd had been back in touch with me that it was being added at the time. So I'm glad to hear that that's in there now.
Yep.
The next question, we kind of touched on this, so maybe we can focus more on the upcoming game. But your inspiration for themes, we kind of touched on Comedy of Terrors being an actual theater. But themes and puzzles specifically, are there specific ones that you, puzzle-wise, that you definitely want to include? Are there certain other themes that you're, kind of planning on touching with regards to new games, or just maybe a sequence or series of puzzles in a game, that kind of thing? Like, where do you get those ideas from?
Well, I think we start, there's the three of us will come up with different ideas, and then, we'll kind of evaluate them. We talk about, well, is that something like that already out there? Because, we're always wanting to be different, but we also want to explore things that we find interesting. And then once we sort of settle on one, we generally settle on the theme first, and then the inspiration from that starts with the artwork and gives, Todd starts getting inspired about what kind of puzzles would work in those different, as the concepts go and the creative juices get flowing. Todd, you have more on that?
Yeah, I don't personally have too much of a desire to retread a lot of areas that have been done to death. So as much as I've enjoyed doing, an Egyptian tomb game or a spy game or something like that, we really want to, like Hare said, set ourselves apart and just do stuff that's out there. We've got a long list of games that we want to do eventually, and there's some nutty ones on there. But yeah, we want to push the envelope. We want to do things that are unique and draw people in just because of the theme or concept.
What makes an experience at your location with your organization unique? So there are a plethora of online escape rooms, and we're trying to, keep the identification to escape rooms, online escape rooms, and then there's also, escape room games. So this is really an escape room experience that you go in and you have a time frame, you log in, you pick a time, and you play it just like you would an escape room. It's not where you get access and you can play at any point and then stop and then continue at a later point. So just for our the people watching, so that's how we're identifying this as an online escape room, because it's not a game that you can pick up and stop and start at any point in time. So with and against other online escape rooms out there, what makes your location unique?
Well, you actually just touched on it when you were saying that, and that was the word experience. I mean, it's so much more than just the game. It's a whole experience that ties in with who you're playing with. The fact that you can, especially in this situation that we're in now, where you can get together with family you haven't seen or friends. We've just hosted a bunch of or some virtual holiday parties with companies because they're looking for ways to entertain their employees like what they can't do the big normal year-end holiday parties. So that's been that's a big part of it is making it a real experience. And then from that, I think it really is, it's the expansiveness, it's the art, it's the difficulty of the puzzles and the fact that they get integrated into the storyline. It's not a random puzzle that you kind of go, what does this have to do with this? Like everything is thought out scene by scene.
Yeah. I think the three biggest things I would say is the artwork, the humor, and the expansiveness of the worlds. And then I know we got a kind of a late start in this game, but our plan is to push out one new game every 1 or 2 months. So we'd eventually like to have 20 plus games, which is quite a bit more than most of the companies out there. So.
And yeah, regards to the art, I mean, you've played other online games, and there's nothing against them; they're great. But we use 70 to 80 different pieces of art sheets versus 10 to 15 maybe, and a lot of the other ones. And again, nothing against them. It's just anybody who knows Aaron knows his perfectionism, and you should have seen the first time that we pixelated his art Surf's Quest because it was beautiful, and then he was like, you've destroyed it. But then it was like, oh wait, I remember playing these games. Yeah, it looks just like those games. So it's all about that, making them just different.
And I think that's really cool too, because it also it gives you that we said experience, but it gives you those feelings of nostalgia, and that makes it a more immersive experience even then, because you can go into a room, nothing's pixelated, and you can have a great time. But for something that really evokes something from your past so it's kind of cool that you guys really honed in and captured some of that in some of your experiences.
Yeah, and I think the games can be enjoyed by people of all ages, but certainly even aside from the theme, Surf's Quest especially is packed with 80s and 90s pop culture references. So if you're somebody who loves that kind of thing, you'd really enjoy the games for that reason.
Jason.
I know we touched on it briefly in the beginning, but would you want to give us a little more of a sneak peek of that new room and maybe some future concepts?
Sure. You want to talk about some of the art and the concept behind the design for Off the Rails?
So Off the Rails is we kind of we've been, for our first 3 games, we wanted to have kind of a variety of difficulty levels. So we started with Surf's Quest, which is kind of our medium difficulty, Comedy of Terrors, which is our hardest one, and now Off the Rails is going to be the easier on the difficulty scale. Still challenging and fun, but hopefully a little easier for more beginner type level people, or
introducing them to online games.
Introducing them into the escape room world. So we decided with this one, instead of being so expansive in the world, this one's more linear. So you're on a train, so you're moving from car to car. So basically each car has its own puzzle that you have to figure out to be able to advance to the next car.
But there's a lot of cars.
There are a lot of cars. So that's what makes this one a little different from our first 2. But it kind of helps. It keeps the group together a little more, because that's one of the challenges. And the other two is everybody's on their own screen, so they can all go in different directions, and it's hard to stay together sometimes. So this one, I think will definitely be its own unique feel to it. As I said before, the art is kind of hyper realistic and slightly cartoonish, so it's kind of fun. And yeah, it's all Old West, kind of wild west.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. It's yeah, in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
cool.
Yeah, and Todd, his concept behind, again, just doing something different, the puzzles, the way that the puzzles work in this game are going to be slightly different. You want to talk about what we're...
Yeah, we're experimenting more and more each game that we do with interactive elements in the puzzles, and kind of pushing our developer a little more each time. So whereas a lot of the my background is in designing static puzzles, like for games magazines and things like that. So we're making the adjustment to a little more typical escape room style, where you can actually click and drag and open and close, rather than just looking at a screen and figuring out the puzzle and then answering this, plugging in the answer.
Yeah, this one has a lot of inventory that we have planned that you can collect as you go, versus just answering or solving a puzzle.
A lot of movable pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that about Comedy of Terrors, like, because, and it's not really a spoiler because you see it as soon as you log in, but you get a backpack, and then there's items that you find, and then there's items that you have to use. So that's a nice little touch to, hey, you're going through this experience, like you're going to be carrying things around, and you're going to, like, the drag and drop was really cool, and I think I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by doing a linear room, I think you had mentioned, helping people get accustomed to online games if they're not. So being able to create different difficulty levels that you can show to people. It's like, if you've never done one of these before, this is the one we recommend. That's really going to, I think, go a long way in training people how to use and to play your game. So I think you really found a good way to capture that experience from the very beginning. So good job there.
And these two revel in the fact that I'm always the guinea pig. They just love to watch me struggle and stare at a puzzle. And if I can't get it, then they're on the right track.
Yeah, I play a lot of the mobile escape room games, or those kind of door puzzle games. So the interface for me was intuitive. Like Mike said, you log in, you get that start screen, there's a backpack. I'm like, oh, apparently I'm going to be finding stuff and throwing stuff in my backpack throughout this game. So it was more for me, is like, what exactly am I finding and how am I supposed to use it? That was kind of what got me. I was just really interested in, like, what am I finding? I won't obviously give any spoilers, but it was fun to see, like, some of the stuff was completely random and unexpected to me, but as you play through the game, you understand why it fits in and how it fits in. And I think it was great.
Mm-hmm. So next question we have for you is, and it's one that we like to ask everyone that we talk to, is what advice do you have for other owners, designers, and players? So if you can take that from each of your different areas of expertise.
Well, for owners, it really is, like, for us, like, don't limit yourself. Like, you're your only impediment. Luckily from a online perspective versus like a brick and mortar establishment, where they are going to be limited in space and obviously budget and construction costs, things like that. We're really only limited by elimination and cloud storage, so we can build and really explore. And definitely, even from a business side of it and a booking side of it, listen to players, respond. We're very quick to respond to any questions. We get lots of questions. Well, how do I do this, or could I do that? Just figuring out how to host an 82-person Christmas party, who all want to play at the same time. When you that wasn't what you were expecting, but it's you look at it as everything is a challenge, and it's always a positive. How about you, Todd?
Yeah, I would say from a design perspective, one lesson we had to learn the hard way. I would say, when you are running beta tests, don't use your aunts, uncles, and grandparents. Use people who are escape room regulars and enthusiasts. they will catch things and point out things that you may not realize otherwise. So if we could go back and maybe run a few more beta tests before we launched our first 2 games, I think we would have done that. But we feel more prepared going forwards for our games. So,
any design lessons?
No, I would just say, be creative, be inventive. This is a relatively new platform and industry, and I think there's a lot of room for different types of games and different takes on different games, and the sky's the limit. So I would just say, be as creative as possible, and let's really push some boundaries and see what kind of cool stuff we can come up with. I mean, I think, our game is somewhere between a traditional escape room and a video game. Like, I don't want to compare it to a video game because it's completely not. Like, there's no controller, it's not nearly as sophisticated, it doesn't take years to develop them, but it's got elements of that, and I think it's a cool hybrid experience, especially with the live hosts and the different things going on. So there's just so many opportunities and cool things to invent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are starting to experiment with virtual reality as well. Eventually, somewhere down the line, we would like to put out some VR escape rooms. So we're starting to dip our toes in the water there.
That's cool. One thing I'll also mention is I really enjoyed Comedy of Terrors. I did like the artwork throughout there, because you can have really cool puzzles and a really good flow of the game puzzle wise, but the artwork can either make or break the experience in terms of being immersed in the experience. Mm-hmm. I'll mention, my fiance and I, we were playing, and within 5 minutes, once we figured out how to navigate, we felt like we were in the theater and we were doing all of these really cool things. So that's a really hard thing to do when you have people sitting in their living rooms or their basements or something, and they're playing this game, and you transport them into the experience. So that's going towards video games, like a really good video game will do that too. So I think you guys have figured out the magic formula for how to do that. So I would say that was a lot of fun for us too.
Well, that was one of the big challenges with Comedy of Terrors, was just that making it feel that immersive. Like, you're facing one direction and then you turn around and you see what's behind you. So you want it to have as many views as possible, so you actually feel like you're in that room, and navigating through the space makes more sense. And I think that originally that was part of a couple of hangups that we had, is we were missing a couple of views, and we've gone back and added those in too. So it feels even more true to life now. So.
Yeah, I always come to Aaron with like the 30 or 40 artboards we need, and then he sends me 115. So he's like always figuring out different ways we can add to it, make it more.
And back to from the business perspective, I mean, that's the one thing, is this platform allows us to mitigate a lot of risk, and so that we can take a little more chances, but we also don't just go, well, it's up, we're done. We're listening to reviewers, we're listening to players, and we go back and we reevaluate, and if we need to make changes, we do, and it isn't so cost prohibitive that we can't continue to always improve it.
That's good. I was going to say something, I just completely blanked on it, so I'm sorry. If I remember, I'll jump back in, but
he'll figure it out in another 3 minutes or so and pop back in with it.
Yeah. So here's my favorite question that we ask during these interviews. Actually, no, Mike's going to get my favorite one. I missed the question. What is your favorite room from another location, or favorite game from another company, etc.?
Well, I think one of the first ones we ever played was from Escape Room LA, and they have some great games. And that was just a great introduction for us to really and to start getting into the online version. And then we've played a couple others, but then Todd has a contact, and had made a connection, and so we played Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2 Hourglass Escapes, which was a blast.
And I got to tell you, cool. Terrific. They really are. I mean, and it is a live avatar version.
Really?
But it's brilliantly done. I have to give them, there's always, and I applaud all the escape room brick and mortar ones who have come up with this live avatar. version to be able to survive and still possibly thrive in this environment that we're in right now as far as the pandemic. But the Evil Dead 2 was brilliant. It was brilliant. The host was brilliant. It was really well done. So that's to date my favorite. Todd, you might have a different one.
Well, for live, no, I think that is my favorite online one I've done. For live games, I love Da Vinci's Secret at 60 out. It's my personal favorite live game.
Other than the ones at Wild Hare Escapes.
Right.
Do you have a favorite?
No, I was going with the Evil Dead
Yeah,
as well.
from the design, the design stuff, he always that draws him right away.
Okay. So what is the craziest, most ridiculous, or the dumbest thing that you've seen someone do when playing your rooms? Or it could be that maybe you were doing rooms elsewhere, or, we always like to get a little, behind the scenes, like what idiotic things or stupid things have you seen people do? Like, did you open up the Zoom and people were just sitting there nude, and you're like, all right.
Couldn't possibly. I have no idea what you're talking about, Todd.
Yeah, I have a pretty good one. We did one beta test with JR and Aaron's parents.
Oh no!
And there's in Surf's Quest there's a dungeon, and there are some torture devices, and one of the torture devices is the Pair of Anguish, and one of them must have Googled Pair of Anguish and had the volume all the way up on their computer. And it started describing what the Pair of Anguish does, and there were a couple of anatomical terms that were just blasted, and they hurried very quickly to close that window. That was my favorite moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they were like, "What?" Of course, everybody got to hear that.
And you played that at the Christmas party, right?
Right. And probably the worst thing that happens really is the people that just don't turn on their video. Because the Zoom is there for them to communicate and to spend time together. And for whatever reasons, you get an entire room, and nobody turns on their video. And so the host is like, I can't see anything, and they don't really talk. Like we try and encourage them. I mean, they're having a great time. They're just all concentrating. But yeah, that's sort of like, I feel like we kind of remind them, you're missing the experience. This is part of it. Don't you want to see that really puzzled look on your family's face or your friend's face that they don't have any idea?
It's challenging for the host too in those situations, because the host can't see your screen unless they're sharing screens. But so if they're not talking, and even if they don't have their video on, you can't even tell. You have no idea where they are. You have no idea what's going on. You can't even
Can
tell
I have a
hint?
Can I have a hint? You're like, sure. Where are you?
All right, that's cool. Jason.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my microphone button. The only issue that we had when we played Comedy of Terrors with that was where I live, we've got just terrible internet service because I live out in the middle of nowhere. So turning off the camera every so often was necessary. Not that I was hiding the puzzled expressions, but just the fact that it was slowing everything else down. The audio was getting garbled, and there were 8 of us plus Todd, I think, or 6 of us plus Todd.
6 of us plus Todd. Yeah.
So yeah, it was getting from my end. It was just getting a little strained, and we're like, yeah, we're just gonna kill all of this for now and just listen to people bitch and moan about things.
Well, yeah, as long as they're talking, it's still fun. It's just when everybody's screened off, it goes to a very blank, generic Zoom screen, and so you're like, oh, this is hi. But like I said, you kind of think the whole time you're so worried that they're not having a good time, and then they finish, and then they go, oh my God, it was the greatest thing ever. We love it. We have so much fun. You go, really? Had it all inside.
What are your favorite puzzle? The normal question is puzzle or lock types, but we can talk puzzles in general, and then locks, I guess, for physical rooms that you guys have done.
You want me to take that one, Jared?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I really, in the same way that I like to pick themes that are something unlike something we've done before, I'm kind of the same way with puzzles. I don't want to do anything that's too reminiscent of another puzzle type we've done before. So I have a background in word puzzles, so I tend to gravitate towards those. but really anything that sort of gives you that aha moment, where it's not just solving the puzzle, but very often figuring out what it is that even needs to be done. And when that clicks with players and they have that aha moment, that's my favorite.
And I'm definitely more physical. Like I like the things where you have to turn it around and get things to fit together. And, you know, I can follow it sort of visually, but it's also, you know, even if it's not touching, even for the online ones, it, you know, in my mind, it feels that way. Like I feel like, oh, if I turn this, I can work it through it like that.
Yeah, and I'm obviously visual based, so anything with visuals is my thing. Matching, you know, finding objects and figuring out where to place them, that kind of thing.
So tell us about, I know that you run promotions on your website. Tell us a little bit more about what that is, so that our readers can check those out for you.
Sure. Well, right now we're running for the holidays, especially, you know, try to help everybody out and just get our name out there as well. We're running 25% off if anyone books and plays before December 31st. That's our newest promotion, our holiday promotion. The coupon is on we email a coupon to people, but we also just have it on our website because we really just want people. It's a great way. It's great presents. It's a great thing to do for the holidays to spend time with family and get to see each other. So we really wanted to put it out there. Typically, other than that, we run. We wanted to again be slightly different, so we create promo puzzles, and if they solve the puzzle, they get a discount code that they can then use, and those generally run 20% off. And we pretty much have one going every month. We'll be running something new starting for New Year's and President's Day. President's Day. But yeah, it's a great way. Again, these guys get really caught up in all their creative, so it's pretty easy to find a puzzle that we would love to use but can't use, and then we turn it into a promo and send it out there, and just, you know, it gives somebody a little taste of what they're going to be in store for and what we're all about, and then we do discount.
Our little orphan babies.
Yeah.
All right, Jason.
Awesome. Well, as we get ready to wrap up, is there anything else you guys would just like to add in general?
No, I mean,
social media channels.
Yeah. Well, there's.
Yeah, you can go to our website, wildhareescapes.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us there.
And LinkedIn.
That's Hare, H-A-R-E, not H-A-I-R.
Yes, H-A-R-E. Yes.
I don't want to know what that website will be if you pull it up wrong.
Well, luckily for you, we were worried somebody would have that, so we actually own both domains. So if you were to actually type the wild, H-A-I-R, escapes.com, it will redirect you. But yeah, we wanted to see how many people would go there by accident.
We should come up with some kind of image that pops up first.
Scare up some scary thing.
And by the way, my LLC is Harebrained LLC, H-A-I-R. I just live to confuse people, so
It's all about a hair thing. But yeah, no, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn for the corporates. Like I said, we're really discovering now, especially holiday parties are great. Virtual parties that companies are doing, and then yeah, always check our website. You know, as soon as we come up and finalize the concept, we throw it up on the website as a coming soon for our next game. And like I said, you know, Off the Rails is about to go to the programmer, so we're about to start beta testing. We're really excited to get that one going.
Great.
Excellent. Well, guys, thanks again for doing this. Again, this was the second time, so hopefully we'll find out in about an hour if the recording is usable.
It's okay.
The first time.
Third time's a charm, right? Well, again, thanks again, guys, and we'll keep everyone posted when their new games are out, because I'm sure we'll be testing or playing through at least one more of them. And until then, see you next time.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.